Imagine being born into a world already dreaming, where the rules were handed to you before you ever learned to speak, and beliefs were stitched onto your very skin before you even knew your own name. From the moment you opened your eyes, the world whispered into your ears what was right and wrong, who you should be, what you should fear, and what dreams you should chase. And without realizing, you started dreaming along too, adopting their dreams, their fears, their beliefs. But deep down, something always felt a little off, didn't it? Because no matter how closely you followed those silent rules, they never truly felt yours. Now imagine waking up from that inherited dream, realizing you have the power to begin again, to rewrite the story you've been living. That profound awakening, that moment of clarity and possibility, is exactly what we're exploring today. Hey everyone, I'm Bix, and welcome to Bix Book Summary, the place where we don't just summarize books. We journey deep into their wisdom, uncovering powerful insights one transformative page at a time. Today, we're diving into one of the most beloved and impactful spiritual guides ever written, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. But make no mistake, this isn't just another self-help book. This is an ancient Toltec guide, a map leading you toward true freedom. Freedom from the shame, guilt, and fear that come from a lifetime of living by rules you never consciously chose, but still follow. Ruiz gently shows us how we've unconsciously signed countless silent agreements throughout our lives. Agreements about who we are, what we deserve, and how we must behave. These silent contracts shape our reality, often keeping us trapped in patterns of emotional pain and self-limitation. The good news? Ruiz teaches us how to break free, not with force or anger, but with simple, life-changing agreements based on wisdom and compassion. In this journey together, we'll unpack these 4 profound agreements one by one, exploring deeply how each can dramatically transform your daily life and bring you peace, clarity, and lasting happiness. But before we step into these life-changing principles, we must understand where this struggle began. It's important to go back to the source, to the moment our inner battles were born. You see, from the time we were children, we were domesticated. Yes, domesticated. Trained just like pets through rewards and punishments, praise and criticism, acceptance and rejection. We learned quickly to conform because acceptance was our survival. So we built an image of who we should be, perfect, flawless, accepted. And slowly, we lost touch with who we truly were inside. We forgot our authentic selves, becoming actors in someone else's dream. What Ruiz reveals is powerful. The world around us is a reflection of agreements made long before our birth. It is a collective dream, crafted over centuries, shaped by billions of people. We inherited this dream, and unquestioningly, we believed every bit of it. But now Ruiz invites us to wake up from this dream and see it for what it truly is, a collection of stories, many of which are built on fear and misunderstanding. He calls on us to question and rewrite these stories, freeing ourselves from chains we never consciously chose to wear. This awakening isn't always easy. Facing the truth can feel uncomfortable, sometimes even painful. But this discomfort is the gateway to freedom, the first step on a journey toward reclaiming your authentic self. It takes courage, but trust me, the freedom waiting for you on the other side is worth every moment of discomfort. So are you ready to rewrite your life? Are you ready to embrace these 4 powerful agreements that can help you break old, limiting beliefs and finally live the life that's truly yours? Let's explore this transformative wisdom together, step by step, agreement by agreement, until you can confidently step into a life filled with peace, joy, and genuine fulfillment. Welcome to the new dream, your dream. When we were born, our minds were blank canvases, open, curious, and completely free. But the moment we arrived, the world began shaping us, quietly guiding us into becoming someone we never consciously chose to be. Without ever being asked, we were handed beliefs, rules, and expectations. We learned quickly what it meant to succeed and what it meant to fail, what we should fear and what we were allowed to admire. Even our emotions were prescribed. Some were celebrated, others quietly dismissed. None of this was done forcefully. Instead, it happened subtly, quietly, gently shaping us through praise and criticism, rewards and disapproval. Don Miguel Ruiz calls this subtle shaping domestication, and it's a strikingly accurate term. Just like pets learning tricks, we were conditioned. Do what's expected, and you're praised as a good boy or good girl. Step out of line, and suddenly love feels conditional. This conditioning begins at home, extends into schools, churches, friendships, and eventually into the broader culture we inhabit. Slowly, without realizing it, we internalize these external expectations so deeply that we no longer need anyone else to enforce them. We become our own judges, silently punishing ourselves when we fail to meet invisible standards we never agreed to. Ruiz calls this phenomenon the dream of the planet, a collective agreement that most people around us never question or challenge. It's a dream we've quietly accepted, believing it's simply how life is. This silent acceptance becomes our reality, the lens through which we see the world and ourselves. Inside each of us, we create a mental book of laws filled with rules we never consciously wrote. And whenever we fail to measure up, we carry burdens of guilt, shame, and fear. Not because we've truly done anything wrong, but because we've broken invisible agreements we never willingly made. In this process, we lose touch with who we truly are. We begin wearing masks, carefully crafted roles designed to earn approval. We stop asking what we genuinely want and instead start living a life dictated by what others value. Our authenticity fades, replaced by the need to be perfect in someone else's eyes. But here's the powerful truth Ruiz reveals. We don't have to keep accepting this inherited dream. Because in reality, it's exactly that. A dream, a narrative that we can question, challenge, and ultimately rewrite. The moment we become aware of these silent agreements, we regain the power to break free from them. The 4 agreements represent a new path forward, a fresh, empowering way to approach life rooted in awareness, choice, and genuine freedom. They're not about perfection. They're about gently breaking the silent contracts that have limited us for years, creating space for a life that feels authentic, meaningful, and truly ours. So let's begin waking up step by step, one agreement at a time. In the next part, we'll explore the very first and most foundational of these agreements, uncovering why the words we speak to ourselves and to others hold a far greater power than we were ever taught. Don Miguel Ruiz begins the first agreement with a statement that seems simple on the surface, but the deeper you reflect on it, the more profound and challenging it becomes. Be impeccable with your word. At first glance, it might sound like he's just reminding us not to lie or gossip, but in reality, he's talking about something much deeper, much more powerful, the very creative force behind every reality we experience. Ruiz tells us our words are like seeds. Every time you speak, you plant something. You can plant kindness, honesty, and love, or you can plant fear, doubt, and shame. Your words shape the reality around you, and even more importantly, they shape the reality within you. The stories you tell yourself about who you are and what's possible for you create your identity. They define your limitations, your self-worth, your confidence, and ultimately your life. When Ruiz uses the word impeccable, he means it quite literally, without sin, but not in the religious sense you might expect. Instead, he defines sin as anything you do or say that goes against yourself. Every time you use your words to criticize yourself, to put yourself down, or reinforce beliefs like I'm not good enough or I'm not smart enough, you're not just engaging in negative self-talk. You're committing an act of self-betrayal. You're reinforcing an invisible agreement you made a long time ago, one you never consciously chose, yet continually uphold. Ruiz describes words as having magical power, comparing them to spells that we cast upon ourselves and others. Consider how one simple comment from childhood, "You're bad at math," "You'll never amount to anything," "You're too shy," can shape someone's belief system for decades. That's the astonishing power of our words. They can build or they can break. They can liberate or they can enslave. And when we speak carelessly, when we gossip, when we spread negativity, we aren't just poisoning other people's minds, we're poisoning our own. Being impeccable with your word isn't about perfection. It's about intention. It's about pausing before speaking, especially when it comes to how we speak to ourselves. The most destructive lies aren't usually the ones we tell other people. They're the ones we quietly repeat to ourselves, day after day, year after year. And Ruiz reminds us that it doesn't have to be this way. He encourages us to consciously make a new agreement, to speak with integrity, clarity, and kindness, to say only what we truly mean, and to stop using words as weapons or as tools of manipulation. Instead, he challenges us to use our words as gifts, to heal, uplift, and honor the truth, even when it feels uncomfortable. especially when it feels uncomfortable. This first agreement serves as the foundation for all the others, because it shapes every other aspect of your life. Once you learn to be impeccable with your word, you'll find your inner dialogue transforming from one filled with limitations and self-doubt into a conversation brimming with possibility and compassion. Up next, we're going to explore the second agreement, one that holds the key to freeing yourself from anxiety, unnecessary stress, and needless emotional pain. And it begins with 4 simple yet powerful words. Don't take anything personally. If the first agreement guides us to speak clearly, honestly, and kindly, the second agreement offers a powerful shield to protect our inner peace. Don't take anything personally. At first glance, this seems almost impossible, because if we're truly honest, most of us take things personally every single day, often without even realizing it. Think about it. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you feel slighted, disrespected. A friend cancels plans last minute, and immediately you wonder, did I do something wrong? Someone critiques your work and suddenly your mind spirals into doubt and insecurity. But Don Miguel Ruiz introduces a perspective that changes everything, one that, if truly embraced, feels almost like a superpower. He tells us clearly, nothing other people do is really about you. Nothing. Every action, every word, every judgment someone makes is about their own internal world, their beliefs, their insecurities, their past experiences, their personal wounds. When someone criticizes, judges, or ignores you, it isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their dream, their reality. Imagine what could happen if you fully accepted this simple yet profound truth. When you stop taking things personally, you reclaim your emotional freedom. You stop letting others control how you feel. It doesn't mean you become cold or indifferent. It simply means you stop carrying emotional weight that isn't yours. You become immune to the opinions and actions of others, because you realize their perceptions say nothing about your true value. Ruiz explains it like this. If someone praises you, calls you brilliant or wonderful, it doesn't actually make you more valuable. And likewise, if someone criticizes you or says you're worthless, it doesn't diminish your worth one bit. Both praise and criticism are simply expressions of another person's point of view, filtered through their own perceptions and beliefs. Their words only hold power over you if you choose to accept them as true. But here's where this agreement becomes even more fascinating and deeply personal. Ruiz points out that often, we're the ones hurting ourselves the most. We take our own negative thoughts personally. We believe our inner critic, that harsh voice inside that tells us, you're not good enough, smart enough, talented enough. Yet that inner critic isn't even authentically ours. It's the voice of the inherited dream, the old agreements we've unconsciously accepted and internalized. When you stop taking even your own negative thoughts personally, something powerful shifts. You create a quiet space inside yourself. You start noticing how much of your suffering wasn't actually caused by external events, but by the meanings and interpretations you assign to them. So the next time someone says something hurtful, or a stranger gives you a strange look, or you find yourself replaying conversations in your mind, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself honestly, what if this has nothing to do with me? Because most of the time, it truly doesn't. Up next, we'll explore the third agreement, one that offers us a powerful tool for navigating a world filled with misunderstandings and assumptions. We'll learn why asking the right questions is the key to unlocking clarity, connection, and freedom from unnecessary emotional drama. We've all been there. Someone doesn't text us back quickly, and instantly our minds race to assumptions. Maybe they're upset. Maybe we said something wrong. A coworker seems quiet or distant, and we immediately jump to the conclusion that they dislike us or are unhappy with our work. A friend overlooks something important, and we assume they simply don't care. Before we know it, we've built an elaborate narrative filled with stress, resentment, and anxiety, often based on nothing more than incomplete information and guesswork. Don Miguel Ruiz identifies this as one of the most harmful patterns we've internalized in what he calls the dream of the planet. We constantly make assumptions, and then we treat these assumptions as though they're facts. But why do we do it? Ruiz tells us it's because we're afraid. Afraid to ask direct questions. Afraid to be vulnerable. Afraid to confront uncomfortable truths. Instead of seeking clarity, we fill in the gaps ourselves, projecting our fears and insecurities onto others. The result is that we often end up completely misunderstanding the situation, hurting ourselves and damaging our relationships along the way. But these assumptions don't only sabotage our connections with others, they also deeply affect our relationship with ourselves. We assume we know exactly how other people view us. We assume we already know what's going to happen, limiting our opportunities before we've even begun. We even assume failure before we try something new, stopping ourselves from fully engaging with life. Ruiz offers a simple yet powerful antidote: courageously ask questions. Instead of assuming, find clarity. Dare to say things like, "I'm not sure I understand. Could you explain?" Or, "Here's how I interpreted that. Was that your intention?" Or simply, "What did you mean by that?" Clear, honest communication is one of the greatest acts of love we can offer, to others and to ourselves. When we stop making assumptions, we stop setting ourselves up for unnecessary pain and confusion. We no longer misinterpret silence as rejection or busyness as neglect. We create space for people to be seen and understood exactly as they are, rather than as characters in a story we've invented without their input. Perhaps even more importantly, we stop fighting imaginary battles. So much of our internal conflict, our stress, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion, is rooted not in reality, but in what we've imagined or assumed. When we embrace this third agreement, we make genuine peace possible in our lives. And when we combine it with the first two agreements, being impeccable with our word and refusing to take things personally, we find ourselves living in a reality with significantly less drama, less misunderstanding, and far deeper connection. Next, we'll explore the fourth and final agreement, a comforting reminder that true transformation doesn't demand perfection from us. It only requires intention, effort, and the commitment to keep showing up and doing our best. Of all four agreements, this one feels the most human, the most compassionate, and perhaps the most liberating. Always do your best. But Don Miguel Ruiz isn't speaking about the exhausting pursuit of perfection we've been conditioned to chase, the kind where our value hinges on being flawless, or on achieving more than everyone else. This isn't about pushing yourself to the point of burnout or holding yourself hostage to unrealistic expectations. Instead, it's about gently doing the best you can right now with whatever resources and energy you have available, guided by love rather than judgment. Your best isn't a fixed standard. It's fluid. It changes day by day, moment to moment. Some days your best might feel unstoppable, clear, and powerful. Other days your best might simply be getting out of bed, taking one small step, or showing up despite confusion and doubt. And Ruiz reminds us that this is perfectly okay. Because when you genuinely do your best, not to impress anyone else, not to prove your worth, but simply because you honor yourself, you silence the inner critic. You shield yourself from guilt, shame, regret, and self-rejection. We've often been taught to think in extremes. Either we succeed fully or we fail completely. Either we're disciplined or lazy, strong or weak. But life rarely unfolds in such absolute terms. Sometimes your best is messy. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it feels uncertain or imperfect. And that doesn't mean you're failing. It simply means you're human. This agreement isn't about harsh self-discipline or constant self-improvement. It's about showing up consistently for yourself with kindness rather than punishment. It's about valuing progress over perfection. Most importantly, it's about gradually replacing the habit of self-judgment with the practice of self-compassion. Ruiz tells us something deeply encouraging. If you do your best while practicing the first three agreements, speaking impeccably, not taking things personally, and not making assumptions, something extraordinary begins to happen over time. Your old agreements, the negative, limiting beliefs, begin to lose their power. They dissolve, little by little. Your old dream, shaped by fear and judgment, transforms into something lighter, freer, and filled with possibility. As you embrace this new way of living, you'll find yourself no longer chasing validation outside yourself, because you recognize that you already carry your own worth within. You stop punishing yourself for past mistakes, and instead start moving forward with a heart at peace. You stop performing for the approval of others, and start simply being who you truly are. This is where the genuine transformation happens. Not in achieving perfection, but in showing up authentically, moment by moment, doing your honest best, grounded in presence. Up next, we'll bring everything together, exploring what it truly means to live these 4 agreements in everyday life, and discovering how, when put into practice, they can fundamentally change not just how you think, but how you exist and relate to the world around you. The world we grew up in handed us countless rules. Some were spoken out loud, others silently understood. We learned early to chase approval, to avoid mistakes at all costs, and to believe that love and acceptance must always be earned. Without even realizing it, we signed invisible contracts agreeing to live inside someone else's dream. But here's the powerful truth Don Miguel Ruiz teaches us. Agreements can be broken, and better ones can be made. These 4 agreements aren't just habits or self-help cliches. They're deeply transformative tools that help you reclaim your personal freedom. When you become impeccable with your words become intentional, uplifting, and rooted in truth rather than fear. When you stop taking things personally, you build an emotional shield, protecting your peace from the negativity or opinions of others. When you stop making assumptions, you break free from misunderstandings and open yourself up to genuine connection and clarity. And when you always do your best, you give yourself permission to grow naturally, without the constant pressure and punishment of perfectionism. Living these agreements doesn't guarantee a life without struggle, but it absolutely means you'll struggle far less. You'll judge yourself less harshly and love yourself more generously. Slowly and gently, the old dream, built on fear, judgment, and limitation, begins to dissolve. And in its place, a new dream emerges, one built on freedom, authenticity, and compassion. A dream that you consciously choose every single day. So if something stirred inside you as you watched this video, listen to it. That's your soul quietly knocking, reminding you there's another way. Maybe it's time to unlearn all the noise and rediscover who you truly are. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Bix Book Summary. I break down life-changing books in ways that are honest, heartfelt, and deeply human. And if you'd like to dive deeper into the 4 agreements for yourself, there's a link in the description below. I'd truly appreciate it if you used it. Now it's your turn. Tell me in the comments below, which of these 4 agreements do you feel you need the most in your life right now? Until next time, keep growing, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep dreaming your own beautiful, authentic dream. I'll see you in the next video.